Hey guys, it's Barbara and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be creating some dollar store Christmas DIYs that I think you're really going to like. Let's go ahead and get started on our first project. We will be using some of Dollar Tree's bottle brush Christmas trees, as well as one of these lanterns. This came from Hobby Lobby. They were $4.99 originally, but they were on sale and you get 4 of those. A dowel, as well as the square piece out of the puzzle piece from the Dollar Tree game. So I am holding this up to see about how high I want my lantern to be. And then I'll use my handheld miter shears to cut that down. So I'm just going to score all the way around it since this is a pretty thick dowel until I'm able to cut that through and then sand that end down nice and flat so it will sit flush onto that puzzle piece square using some hot glue. Now once I have that in place, I'm going to take some black chalkboard craft paint. I usually get this from Dollar General, and I'm going to paint this entire base for the lamppost, including the bottom. Now once mine dried, I held my lamp up to it and I decided it was a little too tall, so I do cut some of that down, and that dowel itself ends up being about 1 3/4 of an inch from the base to the tip of that dowel. Then I can hot glue that lamp right to the center at the top of the dowel and let that glue set up. Now you have a really pretty lamppost lantern to put inside of our glass jar from Dollar Tree. I am using this glass jar with the removable lid, and I'm going to place my lamppost in the very front center of the jar. Make sure it lines up and that the lid will be able to close, and then I'm going to hot glue that down. I'll do the same thing for those bottle brush trees. I'm going to place one on each side behind the lamppost using some hot glue to secure that down. Now the taller bottle brush tree, you will have to bend the top part of the tree over a bit so that you'll be able to put that lid back on top of the jar. And then I can glue the second one right beside the big tree, right behind the lamppost. Then I'm going to take some of Dollar Tree's faux snow, and it has the beautiful sparkles in it. And I'm going to fill it up to about the bottom rim of the jar. So you don't want too much of the snow, but just a dusting at the very bottom. And I'm just going to put a little bit in there, shake it around, and it's okay if it gets on the trees and the lamppost. It just looks really pretty. Now I can start decorating the lid for the jar. I will be using some red and black buffalo plaid ribbon. This came from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to glue this around the jar lid, but I'm making sure that I line everything to the bottom of the jar lid where it attaches to your jar. So you will have a little bit of ribbon sticking up above the jar lid, and that's okay because we're going to glue that down. This particular ribbon is 1.5 inches wide, and it is wired ribbon. I am just hot gluing it to the top and bottom of the outside rim of the jar and wrapping it around and smoothing it down as I go until I get all the way around to the other side and I can glue that end piece down. Then I will make sure that it fits back onto my jar properly, and then I can go in and add a little bit of glue and fold those top edges over to give it a nice smooth finish. So I just added the glue right to the edge of the ribbon and then fold that over. Just be very careful not to burn yourself. Just flip that over and go all the way around until it has that nice clean finish to it. So I thought this would be a really cute Christmas, almost like snow globe, but candle holder. So to decorate my LED candle, I'm using some of this greenery with the red berries off of a Dollar Tree pick. And again, I'm using an LED battery-operated candle. I would not recommend putting a burning candle on top of this. I'm going to trim that greenery down so that it can fit on the outside of my candle. And I'm going to dust that with some of my white chalk paint to give it a nice snowy effect. And then after my paint dries, I'm going to cover the end of this pickup using some jute cord. And I'm just going to hot glue that and wrap it around the entire end. And once I get to the very end, I'll take a piece and glue it right in between the last piece that's wrapped up. and then kind of fold that over. But you don't want to cut your jute cord yet because you want to be able to wrap that around your candle. So I just tuck that in to cover the end of the stem up and then kind of squeeze it together. And then I'm going to hold it up to my candle to see where I want to place it, and then I can wrap it around this candle about 3 or 4 times. So originally I wrapped mine more towards the top, so I'm not wrapping it super tight, but I will be able to move it a little bit later on. I'm going to cut that excess off and glue the jute cord to itself, because that way I can just slide this off if I want to reuse my candle in a different home decor piece later on. So this looks really, really cute together, but I felt like it needed a little something else. So I'm going to make a messy bow using that jute cord, and I just wrapped it around 3 of my fingers, I'm not sure, maybe 6 or 7 times. Then I will tie the center together using an extra piece of jute cord, double knot that in the back, cut the excess off of the knot off, and then I can glue this cute messy bow right to the top of my greenery. And I think that gave it just a nice little finished look. And even though this is so cute sitting on top of our jar, I still was not completely satisfied. So I decided to add some silver wire LED lights from Dollar Tree. And I pushed those down behind the bottle brush trees, wrapped it around the tree a little bit, and then I'll push that all the way down. Look how cute. I think it just really finished it off with those cute lights in there. Now the battery pack itself is too large to fit underneath the lid, but because that wire is so tiny, I just kind of bent it over the top and I was able to put my lid back on. You don't want to squeeze it. You don't want to over tighten it and break your wire. So I just put it on there right when it was able to close. Then you can hide your battery pack behind your jar where the trees are and you won't be able to see it. This project turned out so cute, you guys. I love how this one turned out. Let me know if you like that black lantern or if you would have chosen one of the red lanterns. Either way, I think this turned out really pretty, and I hope you guys enjoyed project number 1. Okay, for project number 2, I'm starting off by using some of these wood pieces from Hobby Lobby. So you get a nice bag full of these wood pieces for $4.99, and they have several different shapes and quite a few of each. So if you don't have those, you can glue 3 of the tumbling tower pieces together, and they'll be pretty similar to the size of these wood squares. I am also using some black and red plaid, buffalo plaid scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. Now, I originally cut the center off and thought that that would be pretty, but then I decided I wanted all 4 of those squares to be on each one of these wood pieces. So luckily, I had some extra scrap paper around so that I was able to cut 4 of these down so they would all have the same design, and I'll be able to attach these to my wood pieces. But before I do that, I'm going to paint the outside edges as well as the back with some black chalkboard craft paint. This paint comes from Dollar General. So once you get all of your back sides and your outside edges painted, you'll allow that to dry, and then we can attach on the natural wood side the scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to attach that using some Mod Podge. I'm just going to brush that on there and make sure I have a nice, thin, even layer, but really make sure you get those edges so that the paper doesn't peel back and that everything will adhere good. Then you can apply your scrapbook paper, press it down nice and firm, and make sure everything is flat and even. And then we'll set those to the side and let them dry. And I'm also using some wood letters from Dollar Tree. They come in a pack. And I'm going to paint these with 2 coats of my Waverly White chalk paint, making sure that I get those outside edges as well as those inside edges, because you will be able to see those. So now that the Mod Podge has dried, I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper and go around the outside edges in one direction to get any of that excess scrapbook paper off. I'm using one of these bales, and I cannot remember if those bales came from Dollar Tree or Dollar General, but I'm also using 3 beads. Now, I get my beads in a very large bag from Amazon which I have linked in my Amazon store if you are interested. I'm going to paint that one bell and those 3 beads with 2 coats of my Waverly White chalk paint, allowing each coat to dry in between. So as I was saying before, you get 6 of those bells for $1, and I can't remember if I got it from Dollar Tree or Dollar General. So after everything dries, a little trick that you can use when you do your scrapbook paper, like in this instance because it's black, and when you use your sandpaper, you can see the white edging of your scrapbook paper. You can just take a Sharpie and go around the edges, and it'll give it a nice finished look, and it'll fill that in. I'm using some hemp rope to feed through the bell, and then I will double knot that and then cut that excess hemp rope off. But I do add a little dot of glue on there just to make sure that my knot stays in place. And once I have that done, I'm going to add those 3 wooden beads right onto the other end and then push those all the way up to the bell. Now I'll set that to the side for just a moment so we can attach our letters onto our wood pieces. I'm going to line mine up so that everything goes from top to bottom and all my design stays the same. And then I'm going to center each one of these letters up to the center of the wood piece using some hot glue. Now once I have all of those firmly pressed in place and the glue has set up, I'm going to flip them over sideways so that I'll be able to attach my cord to the back and make sure it's nice and even. So I'm just going to flip these over and make sure your letters are going in the right direction and that I can evenly space each one of these. And we'll be attaching that hemp cord where the beads are at the bottom of that wood piece. And I'm going to run a bead of hot glue right down the center of the back of each one of these wood pieces so I can lay that hemp cord right on top of that. And I'll take my little makeup spatula thing and make sure everything's nice and flat. And for the hanger, I'm just going to loop it around to see how long I want it to be. Then I can hot glue that right beside that first piece of hemp cord. Get that nice and flat, and then I can cut the excess off so I have a nice loop at the top. And this would make a really large, beautiful Christmas ornament for your Christmas tree, or a beautiful wall decor piece, or even this would be something nice that you could hang on your door so that that bell would jingle when you came in and out. Either way, I think this turned out so pretty. You guys let me know what you think of project number 2. Today's video is in collaboration with some of my very dear friends here on YouTube, Kay and Trish with the Crafting Cousins. They create some very beautiful and creative projects, and they post their videos several times a week. I'm going to have a link to their video for this collab in my description box below. I hope you'll go over and check out their channels. You won't be disappointed. These ladies are so talented. I know that you will thoroughly enjoy watching their video. And if you're coming over from their channel, my name is Barbara, and I love to create budget-friendly home decor. I do a lot of Dollar Tree DIYs, so if that is something that you are interested in, I hope you'll click that subscribe button and the notification bell. And also visit me on my other social media accounts. All of the links are in my description box below. Now for project number 3, I was so excited to find this metal tray at Dollar General for $1. I just found this last week and they had a fairly good amount. So if you are interested in this tray, they have it in the Christmas section at Dollar General. After I remove the sticker from the back, I will also be using this beaded necklace from Dollar Tree. I found this right before Halloween when they started putting the Halloween decor out. And they only had one in my store. They're more like plastic beads, and they're actually attached to each other with just a very thin string. So I will cut this so it'll be one long strand, and I'm going to attach this to the bottom of the tray at the outside rim using some E6000. I made sure to put a really good amount on there, and then I took a paintbrush, just an old paintbrush, because it's not going to be any good after you get done using it. And I'm going to spread that glue up towards the bottom part of the tray so that it'll have some nice amount of glue for these beads to adhere to. And then after I placed those all the way around, I at first started putting them very close together, just end to end, and then I realized the strand was not going to be long enough. But thank goodness I used E6000 and not hot glue, because I had some time to be able to move those around and evenly spread them out so that I would have enough beads to go all the way around this tray. Now for the base of this riser, I'm using one of these candlesticks from Target. I found these a while back, and this was the perfect shade of red. And because it's a candle holder, it has a little dip, so I need to create some height so that I'll be able to attach this to the bottom of the tray and everything will sit flat. So I'm using a scrap piece of the 5-gallon paint stir sticks as well as a regular craft stick, and I am gluing them together and gluing them to the top part of the candlestick. And then I can add my E6000 around the rim. And again, I'll take that same brush and kind of even that glue out. And I'm going more towards the inside so it doesn't seep around the outside. And then I can glue that to the center of the bottom of the tray. And I actually let mine set overnight to make sure that that glue had set up. Then I'm going to take my white chalk paint and very heavily dry brush over these beads. And also, if you find a loose one here or there, or maybe you didn't have enough E6000 there, I just put a dot of hot glue behind that to make sure it was nice and secure. I made sure that I dry brushed down in between all of the crevices of the beads, including underneath, and then you'll just let that paint dry. And this was a very simple DIY, but I love how it turned out. And I think this will be so pretty at the holiday get-togethers. You could put cookies or cupcakes or cheese and crackers or whatever you wish, but this is just a beautiful display for those holiday get-togethers. And now for our last project in today's video, we will be starting off with one of these Dollar Tree ornament signs. I'm going to remove that silver tab at the top and save that. We'll reattach it later. I'm tilting it to the side and taking some painter's tape, and I wanted to mark off like the top third and the bottom third so that we can paint that center section. And I made sure I had about 3.5 inches or 3.25 inches space in between for the middle. I started off by painting it with my black chalkboard craft paint, and then I realized that you could see the design of the words underneath, and I didn't like that, so I decided to go ahead and paint that side, that entire side, in the black chalk paint, and that will become the back of our sign. And then I can flip that over when it's dry and start over again by painting on the back side so you could really see those indentions in the words. So now that'll be the back. We'll flip it over. We'll do the exact same thing. We'll just tilt it to the side. I'm going to place some painter's tape and then paint the center in the black chalk paint and allow that to dry. Then I can remove, well, actually I removed my painter's tape before the paint dried. Then you'll make sure that it's dry before you add some scrapbook paper. This scrapbook paper came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to hold that ornament sign up and trace it around and cut that design out, but I'm only going to be placing this at the top and the bottom part of the sign. But I wanted to make sure everything lined up as far as that plaid design. So I just kind of slid it over to the side and made a mark with the pencil on the scrapbook paper where my black line was painted. And then I'm going to use my paper cutting tool to make sure I get a very nice straight line so that I can attach these sections to the ornament sign. And I'm going to be doing that using some Mod Podge. Now, as you can see, I did cut out a little bit at the top where the ornament hanger part is, and I will trim that down a little bit, but I wanted to make sure that you could see that design right up to the edge of that silver piece that we'll be putting back on. I applied a nice thin, even layer of Mod Podge and pressed that scrapbook paper down. And then I'm going to go back over the scrapbook paper with some Mod Podge so that everything will have a nice, even finish. And I'm going to repeat that on the top part of our ornament sign as well. Just butting that line up to the black line that we painted. And then if you have any excess, just allow that to dry, and you can use a piece of sandpaper to sand those outside edges off. Once I have all that scrapbook paper sealed in with the Mod Podge, I'll set that to the side and let that dry. I'm going to use one of these silver welcome words from Dollar Tree. They come in a package of 3 different words. I'm going to give this 2 coats of my Waverly White chalk paint, and I just paint mine on some wax paper so that I can pick it up and move it, and they'll have nice crisp lines as it's drying. I am going to go over the edge of that scrapbook paper with some of my black chalk paint because when I cut it with the paper cutter, of course, the inside edge is white from the paper. So I went in, touched that up, let it dry. Then I'm going to put a nice heavy coat of Mod Podge right here in the center because our welcome word is very thin and very light. I'm going to apply some Mod Podge to the back of the word, and then I can place that right in the center. And then I could go over top of that with some Mod Podge to make sure everything's nice and sealed in. So that's going to give our black chalk paint the same finish as the scrapbook paper and also seal our word in. I am using a piece of burlap fabric. This came from burlapfabric.com, and I'm just going to cut a length of that over and fold it in half. And I'm also going to be using this really pretty Christmas ribbon that I found at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to cut a length of that off. I wanted to make sure I had those trucks on the outside of each of the centers. So I'm going to squeeze that together, and then I'm going to fold the top and bottom of my burlap over the center to give it a nice closed finish. Then I'll take a piece of jute cord and tie that around the center, double knotting it in the back, and then cutting my excess jute cord off. Then I'm going to rearrange my bow, make sure that my trucks are showing through, and I'll dovetail each one of the decorative ribbons. And for the burlap ribbon, I'm going to cut that down a little bit closer to the dovetail on each side, and then pull a couple of strands out of the end to give it that nice rustic look. Then you're just going to want to fluff your bow out a little bit and make sure that everything's going to line up on the sign. But before I glue that down, I'm going to use a piece of greenery. This is from a pick from Hobby Lobby that I've kind of been using pieces here and there. And I'm going to glue that right at the top of the sign using some hot glue. And then I can attach my ribbon bow right on top of that. And then to give it a little extra something else, I'm also going to be adding some really pretty burgundy berries. This is from a berry pick, and I'm going to glue that right down in the center of the bow. Allow that glue to set up, and then we can create our hanger on the back just using some jute cord. And I'm just going to create a loop right in the center at the top. I'm going to hot glue that down, let that glue set up, and then I'll put some more hot glue right on top of it to make sure it has a nice secure hold. And then I'll cut that excess jute rope off, and now you have a very beautiful round welcome door hanger sign. I love how this project turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. If you have a favorite out of today's video, please let me know in the comments down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. And please don't forget to go check out the Crafting Cousins video. I will have a link to their video in my description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.